The invasion fleet's massive engines burn silent in the vacuum as final preparations are made. Junior Science Officer Kel Terry reviews the atmospheric composition data one final time, making minute adjustments to the troops' breathing apparatus. A 13-cycle veteran of planetary acquisitions, she has seen this process unfold with mechanical precision across different worlds. Yet something about the behavioral analysis of these humans troubles her. "Commander," she ventures, approaching Zex Toral's command platform with appropriate deference. "The neural plasticity readings from the specimens we observed are anomalous. They show adaptation rates that exceed our predictive models." Zex Toral barely glances at her data tablet. "Your concern is noted, Science Officer, but their technological development clearly indicates a pre-spaceflight civilization. Their weaponry relies on chemical propellants and crude explosives." "Yes, Commander, but their social structures show unusual." "Their social structures show precisely what we expect," he interrupts, mandibles clicking in irritation. "Divided governance, territorial disputes, resource competition. They cannot even unify their own species. They will fall like all the others." The command deck falls silent as officers attend to their stations. Zex Toral returns to studying the holographic display of Earth's major population centers. The primary landing zones are already selected, optimal positions to demonstrate overwhelming force while minimizing resource damage. "Begin atmospheric entry sequence," he commands. "Deploy cloaking shields at maximum intensity." The massive ships descend toward Earth's atmosphere, their advanced materials absorbing radar signals and bending light around their hulls. On Earth's surface, only the most sensitive instruments detect minor anomalies, unusual aurora patterns, brief gravitational fluctuations that scientists attribute to equipment malfunction. In his private quarters adjacent to the command center, Zex Toral performs the pre-conquest ritual, applying ceremonial pigments to his exoskeleton. His personal trophy collection dominates the chamber, preserved specimens from 12 conquered worlds, artifacts from fallen civilizations, ceremonial weapons taken from vanquished military leaders. An empty display case waits for his first human trophy. He has already selected several potential specimens from the surveillance data, political leaders, military commanders, even a few of their scientific minds who might appreciate the honor of representing their species in his collection. The ship shudders slightly as it enters Earth's upper atmosphere. Zex Toral makes a final inspection of his battle armor, the gleaming metal plates inscribed with his impressive conquest record. His communication implant chimes softly. "Commander," the tactical officer reports, "we have detected unusual activity in the humans' orbital defense network. They appear to be tracking anomalies in our general vicinity." "Impossible," Zex Toral responds. "Their sensor technology is primitive. Maintain course and speed." "There's something else, Commander. We're detecting unusual communications patterns. Their global information network is carrying significantly higher data volumes than our baseline observations indicated." Zex Toral pauses, mandibles twitching with the first faint hint of concern. "Tactical analysis. Uncertain, Commander. The content is encrypted in multiple formats we haven't fully decoded, but distribution patterns suggest coordinated information sharing across their political boundaries." For a brief moment, Zex Toral considers delaying the attack, perhaps gathering more intelligence. But such hesitation would show weakness before his crew. The collective does not delay. The collective does not reconsider. The collective conquers. "Proceed with the invasion timeline," he commands. "Launch the first wave of dropships in precisely one rotation cycle. Target their primary military installations and communication nodes simultaneously." As Zex Toral returns to the command deck, he dismisses his momentary doubt. After all, the humans don't even know they're about to be invaded. How could they possibly be preparing? It's merely a coincidence, an unusual pattern in their chaotic communication systems. By the next cycle, their primitive weapons will be neutralized, their leaders captured or eliminated, and their population centers secured for resource extraction. The Thaxian collective has never failed to conquer a world. Earth will be no different. Lieutenant Mai Chen wraps a bandage around the arm of a teenage boy who was pulled from the rubble of an apartment building. Around them, the makeshift hospital overflows with injured civilians. Outside, the distant thunder of Thaxian energy weapons continues to shake the ground. 3 hours since the invasion began, and already Tokyo's skyline is transformed. Jagged ruins where gleaming towers once stood. "You're very brave," she tells the boy as she secures the bandage. "What's your name?" "Hiroki," he replies, surprisingly calm. "I think I figured something out about them." She almost dismisses him. There are dozens more patients waiting, and she hasn't slept in 20 hours, but something in his expression stops her. "What did you figure out?" Hiroki pulls out a tablet with cracked screen. "I've been recording footage from different live streams." He swipes through video clips of Thaxian ground troops moving through city streets. See how they avoid puddles, even small ones, and when it started raining in London. He switches to another video. Their ground forces immediately sought cover. Mai studies the footage, medical training momentarily forgotten. Water. They're avoiding water. Not just avoiding it. Hiroki points to footage of a Thaxian soldier caught in an unexpected downpour. The alien's armor seems to sizzle, the creature inside writhing in apparent pain. It hurts them. Across the room, a police officer overhears their conversation. "The fire hydrants," he says, "if we breach the hydrants near their positions." May nods, a plan already forming. She turns to a nurse. "I need to step away. Can you coordinate here?" She pulls out her phone, connects to the emergency broadcast system that's been established since regular communications went down. Within minutes, the information about Thaxian water vulnerability is spreading across multiple channels. Halfway across the world, in the ruins of what was once downtown Atlanta, Deshaun Williams leads a group of survivors through the sewer system. A former NASCAR mechanic with extensive knowledge of vehicle modification, he's already helped transform 3 garbage trucks into armored transport vehicles, saving hundreds of civilians from the initial attack wave. They're coming down Peachtree. A scout reports through a salvaged police radio. At least 30 of them, with some kind of hover tank. Deshaun checks his makeshift map of the sewer system. Perfect. That puts them right over Junction 7. He turns to his team. Explosive charges ready. A former construction worker nods, holding up a detonator. "Ready when you are. Wait for my signal." Deshaun pulls up a message on his phone, something about the aliens showing vulnerability to water. He smiles grimly. "Actually, new plan. Carlos, what's the water pressure like in the main pipe feeding this section?" Carlos checks the gauge on a massive pipe running along the sewer wall. "About 80 psi. "Why?" "Because we're going to give our visitors an unexpected shower." Deshaun explains his revised plan quickly. His team moves with purpose, attaching explosive charges not to the sewer ceiling, but to the water main directly beneath the approaching Thaxian forces. On the Thaxian command ship, Officer Kravnex reports to Commander Zex Toril with increasing agitation. "We're encountering unexpected resistance patterns, Commander. The humans are targeting our ground forces with water-based weapons." "Water?" Zex Toril's mandibles click in confusion. "That's impossible. Our intelligence indicated no knowledge of Thaxian biochemistry." "Nevertheless, Commander, they are exploiting our hydrophobic vulnerabilities with remarkable coordination. Multiple teams report being deliberately targeted with ruptured water pipes, sprinkler systems, and even modified civilian vehicles that spray water." Zex Toril pounds his command console in frustration. "How are they sharing tactical information? We destroyed their primary communication infrastructure in the first strike wave." "Unknown, Commander. But analysis suggests they're using redundant systems, primitive wireless networks operating on frequencies we considered too inefficient for military applications." As if to punctuate the report, an alert sounds. On the tactical display, An entire Thaxian squadron disappears from the map. Deshawn's ambush successful. The aliens caught in a devastating pressurized water eruption that melted through their exoskeletons before they could retreat. Impossible. Sectoral whispers, watching as similar reports begin flooding in from around the planet. They couldn't adapt this quickly. They couldn't. But they had. And this was just the beginning. Dr. Elena Kazarian hasn't slept in 3 days. The basement laboratory beneath Princeton's physics building hums with activity as scientists from a dozen different countries work on the captured Thaxian technology. The room that once housed particle accelerator components now contains something infinitely more valuable. A partially intact alien shield generator salvaged from a downed scout ship. The quantum resonance pattern is unlike anything in our theoretical models, she explains to General Williams, who arrived via helicopter an hour ago. But it's not incomprehensible. They're using principles we've theorized, just at an implementation level we haven't achieved yet. The General studies the complex equations covering multiple whiteboards. And you believe you can disrupt it. Elena smiles for the first time in days. Not just disrupt it. We've already built a prototype. She gestures to what looks like a modified microwave emitter mounted on a portable generator. It generates a cascading interference pattern that destabilizes their shield harmonics. We've successfully tested it against the components we recovered. How soon can we reproduce it? That's the beautiful part, Elena says, leading him to a workbench where 3 engineers are disassembling commercial microwave ovens. We can modify existing technology. With the right components and instructions, these can be built in any workshop or garage with basic tools. The General's phone buzzes, a priority message from the Resistance Coordination Network that's emerged in the 3 weeks since the invasion began. He reads it, then looks up, expression grim but determined. You'll have your chance to field test it soon. Thaxian forces are converging on this location. They must have detected our research activity. Elena nods, unsurprised. We expected that. The plans have already been distributed through 17 different secure channels. Even if we don't survive, the technology will. Halfway around the world, in a remote village in Kenya's Rift Valley, Maasai warrior Lanana leads a team of tribal hunters and 3 stranded British soldiers through the savannah. They move with ghost-like silence, approaching a landed Thaxian scout vessel. Their motion sensors detect heat signatures and movement patterns, Lanana explains in a whisper, but they are calibrated for direct approaches, the way a predator hunts. We must move like the leopard, indirect, patient. The British captain nods, following Lanana's example of a distinctive rolling gait that mimics the natural movement patterns of local wildlife. His men do the same, their movements becoming more fluid with practice. Our ancestors hunted lions with spears, Lanana continues, not with superior weapons, but with superior knowledge. We understand this land. They do not. They pause as a Thaxian sentry emerges from the ship, its multifaceted eyes scanning the horizon. The alien sensory apparatus sweeps over their position and continues moving. The camouflage technique works. When they return to the village hours later, they bring invaluable intelligence about Thaxian patrol patterns and sensor limitations. This information joins thousands of similar observations flowing into the rapidly evolving human resistance network. On the Thaxian command ship, Science Director Nevbar presents her findings to an increasingly agitated Commander Zextoral. The humans are not merely using our technology, Commander. They're improving it. She displays footage of a resistance fighter using a modified Thaxian energy weapon with an improvised cooling system that prevents the overheating issues that had limited the weapon's effectiveness. Our engineers took 9 cycles to develop this weapon. The humans identified and solved its key limitation in less than 1 of their weeks. Impossible, Sextoral mutters, but the word has lost its conviction. That's not all, Nevbar continues. They're sharing information at a rate that defies our understanding of their communication capabilities. Despite our destruction of their primary networks, They've established alternative systems. Some appear to use their planet's natural electromagnetic field in ways our sensors weren't calibrated to detect. Zextoral stares at the tactical display, where red indicators show yet another failed offensive. How are they adapting so quickly? How are they learning our weaknesses faster than we can exploit theirs? Nevbear's answer is simple and terrifying. Because they've been preparing for this their entire existence, Commander. Not for us specifically, but for the concept of us. Their literature, their entertainment, their history, all filled with scenarios of resistance against overwhelming invaders. While we study conquest, they've been rehearsing resistance for centuries. Science Director Nevbear's laboratory aboard the command vessel has transformed into a chaotic archive of human cultural artifacts. Screens display footage of human behavior during crisis situations, historical battle reenactments, and entertainment media featuring fictional alien invasions. A team of synopsychologists studies it all with increasing concern. Their neural responses to threat are fundamentally different from every other species we've cataloged. Nevbear explains to the assembled War Council. When faced with overwhelming force, most sentient species exhibit predictable responses: submission, retreat, or self-preservation. Humans show a statistically improbable tendency toward counterattack. She displays brain scans of captured human resistors compared with other conquered species. Under extreme stress, their neural activity doesn't diminish, it intensifies. Creativity centers activate alongside threat responses. They become more innovative precisely when they should become less capable of complex thought. Commander Zextoral's patience visibly thins. These psychological curiosities are irrelevant. The Void Talon elites have arrived. They will crush this resistance with tactics that have conquered worlds far more advanced than this primitive planet. Nevbear hesitates, then continues with uncharacteristic boldness. Commander, I must emphasize that standard tactics may prove counterproductive. Human psychology exhibits another anomaly. The more force used against them, the more unified they become. Their historical records show that previously warring factions consistently unite when faced with a common threat. Are you suggesting we retreat from primitives who still use combustion engines? Zextoral hisses, mandibles flaring in anger. I am suggesting adaptation, Commander, just as they are adapting to us. The council chamber falls silent. Adaptation is not a concept valued in Thaxian military doctrine. The collective doesn't adapt, it overwhelms. In London's underground network, 12-year-old Amara Rahman works with focused intensity on her laptop. Around her, a makeshift command center has been established in an abandoned tube station. Adults, former military officers, government officials, even a few game designers, watch as her fingers fly across the keyboard. The pattern recognition algorithm is complete, she announces. It can predict Thaxian patrol routes with 83% accuracy based on their previous movement data. Colonel Harper, formerly of British intelligence, studies the displays with amazement. How did you develop this so quickly? Amara shrugs. It's basically a modified version of the AI I was developing for my multiplayer strategy game. The Thaxians move like NPCs, non-player characters, she clarifies, seeing his confusion. They follow programmed patterns. Once you identify the variables that influence their decision trees, you can predict their choices. And you learned this from video games? The Colonel asks incredulously. Strategy games teach pattern recognition and adaptive thinking. Amara replies matter-of-factly. Plus, I've played as the aliens in Cosmic Conquest for 3 years. Their tactics aren't that different from the Saurian Empire's approach in Level 9. Across the improvised command center, a communications specialist signals for attention. We're receiving reports of a new Thaxian offensive. They're deploying some kind of elite forces, different armor, advanced weapons, multiple simultaneous attacks on resistance strongholds. On a global map display, red indicators appear as Void Talon strike teams hit resistance positions with precision and overwhelming force. These are not the standard Thaxian troops. These move with coordinated efficiency that seems unstoppable. Colonel Harper studies the attack pattern, his expression grim. They're targeting our command and research centers. Someone gave them intelligence on our most valuable assets. No, Amara says, studying the data stream. They're still following patterns, just more complex ones. Her fingers resume their dance across the keyboard. The basic algorithm still applies. I just need to adjust the variables. As the Void Talon elites carve their path of destruction, humanity faces its most serious challenge yet. But in basements and bunkers around the world, people like Amara continue working, adapting, evolving their resistance. For every breakthrough the Thaxians make, humans create 3 countermeasures. For every building destroyed, 2 underground facilities spring up. For every hit the resistance takes, they learn and improve. The Thaxians came expecting conquest. What they found instead is a masterclass in adaptation. From the one species in the galaxy that made survival against impossible odds into an art form. The Amazon rainforest buzzes with life that has nothing to do with its natural ecosystem. Hidden beneath the dense canopy, a coalition of indigenous guides leads a multinational special forces team through terrain the Thaxians have marked as impassable on their tactical maps. Paulo Mendes, a Kayapo tribal member whose ancestors have navigated these forests for centuries, moves with practiced silence, despite the heavy equipment strapped to his back. Their sensors cannot differentiate between human heat signatures and the thermal patterns of the forest. He explains to Commander Ortiz of the hastily assembled Latin American Defense Coalition. The moisture, the density of life forms, it creates a natural cloaking field. 6 months into what was supposed to be a 3-week conquest, the Thaxians hold less territory than after their initial landing. The Void Talon elites, for all their advanced training and superior equipment, found themselves outmaneuvered in environments they weren't designed to fight in. Dense urban centers where humans knew every alleyway and service tunnel, mountains where local guides understood every hidden path, oceans where retrofitted submarines struck without warning. Paulo stops, holding up a hand. The Special Forces team freezes immediately. Ahead, barely visible through the undergrowth, a Thaxian sensor array rises from a small clearing. This is their target, one of the key communication nodes connecting ground forces to the orbiting command ships. Remember, Paulo whispers, their technology is adapted for efficiency in open terrain. They consider this environment hostile to their operational parameters. They do not understand how to live with the forest, only how to impose their will upon it. Commander Ortiz nods, signaling her demolitions expert forward. The operation proceeds with methodical precision. Within 20 minutes, the sensor array is not destroyed, but reprogrammed, now feeding false data to Thaxian command while transmitting actual intelligence to human resistance networks. Around the world, similar operations unfold. In Tokyo, robotics engineers deploy swarms of miniature drones designed to infiltrate Thaxian vessels through ventilation systems. In Mumbai, hackers penetrate alien communication networks using quantum encryption principles reverse-engineered from captured technology. In Cairo, archaeologists use ancient tunnel systems beneath the city to move resistance fighters past Thaxian checkpoints. Aboard the Thaxian command ship, Commander Zex Toral faces the most difficult meeting of his career. The holographic projections of the collective Supreme Council hover before him, their disapproval palpable even across interstellar distances. "Your failure is unprecedented, Commander," the first voice states. "No species has ever repelled a full collective invasion force. The humans possess adaptability beyond our models," Zex Toral argues, desperate to salvage his reputation and possibly his life. Their neural structures, their social cohesion under pressure. "Excuses," interrupts the second voice. "You have squandered resources that could have conquered 3 compliant worlds. The collective cannot tolerate such inefficiency." Zex Toral's mandibles tremble with suppressed rage and fear. "I request permission to deploy the biogenic weapons." A tense silence follows. The biogenic weapons, designed to target specific genetic markers while leaving infrastructure intact, are prohibited under the collective's own conquest protocols. Their use would be an admission of defeat by conventional means. Permission granted, the first voice finally states. But understand, Commander, success is your only option now. Further failure will result in your immediate replacement and recycling. The transmission ends, leaving Zextoral alone with his desperate plans. He summons his weapons officer. Prepare the biogenic delivery systems. Target major population centers simultaneously. What Zextoral cannot know, is that his supposedly secure transmission has been monitored. Dr. Kazarian's quantum resonance technology has evolved far beyond shield disruption. Human intelligence networks now regularly intercept Thaxian communications, giving the Resistance precious advance warning of enemy movements. And in a hardened bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, a team of biologists and geneticists who have been studying Thaxian biological samples for months received the alert about the planned biogenic attack. They'd been preparing for this possibility. The countermeasures are already being distributed through global water supply systems, a genetic vaccine developed using the aliens' own biological material against them. The Thaxians are about to discover that humans don't just adapt to threats, they anticipate them. United Nations headquarters has relocated to a vast underground complex beneath Wellington, New Zealand, one of the few regions where Thaxian presence remains minimal. The General Assembly Chamber, once filled with diplomatic posturing and political maneuvering, now buzzes with focused intensity. Representatives from nations that were bitter enemies mere months ago now work side by side, sharing resources and intelligence with unprecedented cooperation. Secretary General Adama, a former humanitarian crisis coordinator from Ghana, stands before the assembled global leadership. The massive display behind her shows real-time updates from resistance cells around the world. The Thaxian biogenic weapon deployment has been neutralized, she announces, prompting a wave of cautious relief through the chamber. Thanks to the brilliant work of our international scientific coalition and the sacrifice of infiltration teams who distributed the countermeasures, their attack caused minimal casualties. She gestures to a smaller screen where Dr. Kazarian appears via secure link. Doctor, please update us on Operation Prometheus. Delina nods, shadows under her eyes testifying to countless sleepless nights. The intelligence obtained from the captured Thaxian communications has been verified. We've confirmed the location of their fleet's primary reactor cores. The weakness is real, not a deception as we initially feared. And the delivery system, asks the Chinese representative. Ready for deployment, Alina responds. The modified Thaxian propulsion technology has been successfully integrated with our guidance systems. The penetration charges have been calibrated to the exact frequency that will disrupt their containment fields. Secretary General Adama surveys the room. This will be our first major offensive action against their orbital assets. The risk is significant. If we fail, we reveal our technological advancement without achieving strategic advantage. The Russian representative stands. 2 months ago, my country was fighting 3 different regional conflicts. Today, those same former enemies serve in our combined resistance forces. If humanity can change so fundamentally, perhaps it is time our tactics change as well, from survival to victory. The vote is unanimous. Operation Prometheus is authorized. Aboard the Thaxian command vessel, Commander Zextoral faces the bitter reality of another catastrophic failure. The biogenic weapons, his last desperate gambit, neutralized before they could achieve meaningful impact. How? He demands of Science Director Nevbar. How could they possibly develop a countermeasure so quickly? The weapons were deployed less than 12 hours after authorization. Nevbar's expression remains carefully neutral, though her recent analysis has led her to a disturbing conclusion she dares not share fully, that the humans may have surpassed Thaxian predictive capabilities altogether. They appear to have anticipated this escalation, Commander. My analysis suggests they intercepted our secure transmissions and had countermeasures prepared in advance. Impossible, Zextoral mutters, the word now a meaningless reflex rather than a genuine objection. There is another possibility. Nev Bar ventures carefully. Our historical archives contain references to similar adaptive capabilities in primitive factions before the collective era. When we were prey instead of predators, our ancestors displayed neural plasticity comparable to what we're observing in humans. Zextoral's mandibles click in agitation. You compare these primitives to our ancestors. That borders on heresy against the collective doctrine. I merely observe biological parallels, Commander. And I suggest that perhaps our conquest protocols, designed for hierarchical, specialized species, are fundamentally unsuited for this particular adversary. Before Zextoral can respond, alarms blare throughout the command deck. The tactical officer reports with barely controlled panic. Multiple launches detected from Earth's surface. Unknown propulsion signature. They're moving faster than any human technology should be capable of. The tactical display shows dozens of small objects rising from Earth's atmosphere at impossible speeds on direct intercept courses with the Thaxian fleet. Impossible, Zextoral whispers one final time as the first penetrator charges impact his vessel's reactor shielding. The humans haven't just been learning to survive the Thaxian invasion. They've been preparing to end it. And as the carefully calculated explosions trigger cascading failures throughout the Thaxian fleet, the balance of power in Earth's solar system shifts irrevocably. For the first time in its long history of conquest, the collective faces not just resistance, but defeat. The captured Thaxian battlecruiser Inevitable Conquest, now renamed Humanity's Dawn, hangs in low Earth orbit, its sleek alien contours now adorned with hastily painted Earth symbols. Inside its vast command deck, Dr. Elena Kazarian stands before a team of international pilots and engineers, all intensely focused on her briefing. The neural interface systems have been modified to accept human operators, she explains, gesturing to the alien control consoles that once responded only to Thaxian neural patterns. The translation matrix we developed from captured communication logs allows full access to navigation, weapons, and propulsion systems. Captain Miguel Reis, formerly of the Brazilian Air Force, studies the holographic display of the Thaxian homeworld and its defensive grid. And we're certain this intelligence is accurate, not a trap. As certain as we can be, Elena responds. The data was verified against multiple independent sources from different Thaxian vessels. Their overconfidence worked in our favor. They never imagined we could access their secure databases, so their encryption was focused on external threats, not internal compromise. Operation Prometheus succeeded beyond humanity's most optimistic projections. The coordinated strikes against the Thaxian fleet's reactor cores disabled nearly 70% of their orbital capacity in a single assault. The remaining vessels, cut off from reinforcements after humans disabled their long-range communication array, found themselves isolated and vulnerable. What followed was not the wholesale slaughter the Thaxians might have inflicted had positions been reversed. Instead, humanity offered terms: surrender or retreat. Many chose surrender, their centuries of conditioning under collective doctrine leaving them unable to cope with unprecedented defeat. Some fought to the last, their ships now debris orbiting Earth alongside the satellites they had destroyed months earlier. And one, the massive command vessel of Commander Zextoral, attempted a final desperate assault on Earth's surface, targeting the heart of human resistance coordination. In the White House Situation Room, one of the few government centers successfully protected throughout the invasion, President Chen reviews the after-action reports from what historians are already calling the Battle of Antarctica. Zextoral himself led the attack. She asks General Williams. Yes, Madam President. According to captured officers, he refused to accept defeat even after their main fleet was disabled. He commandeered their remaining operational ground forces for a direct assault on our southern command center. And the casualties. The general's expression darkens. Significant, but the defensive perimeter held. Dr. Kazarian's shield disruption technology, proved effective against even their most advanced weapons. The commander himself was captured during the final push. Across the Situation Room, Admiral Okafor interjects. "Madam President, humanity's Dawn reports ready for its mission. The jump drive has been tested in 2 lunar orbits and performs within expected parameters." President Chen nods, her expression solemn. "Authorized departure, and may God be with them." In a maximum security facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Commander Zex Toril sits motionless in his specially designed containment cell. Despite his status as the architect of an invasion that cost millions of human lives, he has been treated according to newly established protocols for extraterrestrial prisoners of war, with dignity, medical care, and protection from exploitation. Dr. Mira Singh, head of the xenopsychology team studying him, observes through one-way glass as her colleague conducts today's interview session. "You still fail to understand," Zex Toril tells the human interviewer, his once commanding voice now flat and defeated. "The collective will send more ships, more troops. What you achieved was merely a temporary setback." "Perhaps," the interviewer responds, "but we'll be ready, and we'll be waiting for them with technology we've adapted from yours." Zex Toril's mandibles click in what Dr. Singh has come to recognize as the Thaxian equivalent of bitter laughter. "You think you can stand against the combined might of the collective? Thousands of worlds, billions of soldiers, technologies you cannot imagine." The interviewer leans forward. "Commander, there's something we've been meaning to tell you. While you were leading your final assault on Antarctica, we launched our first interstellar mission. Using your own vessels and the star charts we recovered from your databases. For the first time since his capture, true emotion registers in Zex Toril's alien features. Pure, unadulterated shock. By now," the interviewer continues, *Humanity's Dawn** has made its first jump to the Proxima Centauri system. Next week, the *Resilience* and *New Horizon* will follow, carrying diplomatic and scientific teams. You didn't just fail to conquer Earth, Commander. You gave humanity the stars. As the full implications sink in, Zex Toril finally understands the true magnitude of the collective's miscalculation. They hadn't merely failed to subjugate a primitive species. They had awakened a sleeping giant and given it the means to challenge their dominion across the galaxy. 5 years after the first Thaxian ships darkened Earth's skies, humanity has transformed. The gleaming spires of the United Earth Space Command rise from what was once ground zero of the initial invasion in downtown New York. Rebuilt with a combination of human ingenuity and adapted alien technology, the city symbolizes the planet's rebirth, scared but stronger, changed but unbroken. In the Grand Assembly Hall, representatives from every nation on Earth gather with delegates from 7 formerly subjugated alien species, allies found among the stars, their own worlds long ago conquered by the Thaxian collective. Today marks the formal reception of the collective's highest council, arrived not as conquerors but as supplicants seeking peace. Dr. Elena Kazarian, now Earth's Minister of Interstellar Affairs, walks with measured steps toward the central podium. At 52, her hair shows streaks of gray earned during the desperate days of the invasion and the frenetic years of advancement that followed. The quantum resonance theories that once helped disrupt Thaxian shields now powered humanity's faster-than-light communications network, allowing instant connection between Earth and its rapidly expanding collection of extrasolar outposts. Distinguished representatives of the Thaxian collective, she begins, addressing the 7-member alien delegation. Earth welcomes you in peace, despite our history. The lead Thaxian delegate, Supreme Counselor Vex Mara, inclined her head in what humans now recognize as a gesture of profound respect. We come seeking reconciliation and coexistence. The collective acknowledges its fundamental error in attempting to subjugate your world and species. In the 5 years since humanity acquired interstellar travel capability, the balance of power beyond Earth has shifted dramatically. Human ships, combining Thaxian technology with innovations no Thaxian engineer would have conceived, established contact with dozens of worlds. On each, they offered the same proposition: alliance against collective dominance. The response was overwhelming, as species long resigned to subjugation found new hope in humanity's example of successful resistance. The treaty before us today establishes more than peace between our peoples, Alina continues. It fundamentally restructures the galactic order from one of conquest to one of cooperation. The terms are unprecedented in the collective's 50,000 cycle history: reparations to Earth and other worlds damaged by Thaxian expansion, technology exchange protocols, cessation of all forced resource extraction, and recognition of the sovereign rights of all sentient species. Most significantly, the treaty establishes the Interstellar Concord, a new governing body where all member species hold equal standing, the Thaxians included. In a secure observation room overlooking the proceedings, former Commander Sex Toral watches the ceremony with his 4 eyes fixed on the screens. After years as a prisoner of war, he has been granted limited supervised freedom in recognition of his cooperation with human researchers seeking to understand Thaxian psychology and society. They defeated us utterly, he remarks to Dr. Mira Singh, who remained his primary human contact. Not just militarily, but philosophically. They could have destroyed the collective, yet they offer partnership instead. We understand something your people forgot during your millennia of unchallenged expansion. Mira responds, genuine strength comes from diversity and cooperation, not domination. The collective taught that adaptation was weakness, that true power came from forcing the universe to bend to our will rather than changing ourselves to accommodate new challenges. Sex Toral's mandibles click softly in contemplation. We were wrong. As the treaty signing concludes, the assembly hall erupts in applause. On screens across Earth and a dozen alien worlds, billions watch this historic moment. Children who were born during the invasion, who have never known a world without alien technology and interstellar awareness, cheer alongside veterans who fought in humanity's darkest hours. In orbit above Earth, the massive interstellar vessel Unity prepares for its maiden voyage. Crewed by humans and representatives from 9 alien species, including volunteer faction scientists, it will journey farther than any collective ship has ever ventured, beyond known space to seek new civilizations and knowledge. Commander Adira Okafor, captain of the Unity and daughter of the admiral who helped coordinate Earth's defense, stands on the observation deck watching her home planet rotate serenely below. The scars of invasion remain visible even from orbit, vast areas being reclaimed and rebuilt. But they no longer define Earth's story. The Thaxians came to conquer a primitive world and found instead a species whose greatest strength was the very adaptability they had dismissed. They sought to colonize Earth, but succeeded only in propelling humanity to the stars centuries ahead of its natural development. They came seeking easy conquest and found instead their most profound transformation. As the Unity initiates its first jump sequence, Adira contemplates the message the ship carries into the unknown, that even the darkest moments of survival can become the brightest opportunities for growth, that diversity creates resilience, and that the species that cannot be conquered might become the one that never needs to conquer others.